Hello, today we have Chapter 3, The Innocent Perception, Section 4, Error and Ego. The abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. All of your present functions are divided and open to question and doubt. This is because you are not certain how you will use them and are therefore incapable of knowledge. You are also incapable of knowledge because you can still perceive lovelessly. Perception did not exist until the separation introduced degrees, aspects, and intervals. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. That's worth saying again. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. And once more. Spirit has no levels, and all conflict arises from the concept of levels. Also, going back to the beginning, all of your present functions, no, that wasn't it. Okay, the abilities you now possess are only shadows of your real strength. I'm just reminded that that real strength is shared, and shared equally always. And we can see that real strength as the truth of everyone, with no exceptions, every day. Only the levels of the Trinity are capable of unity. The levels created by the separation cannot but conflict. This is because they are meaningless to each other. Consciousness, the level of perception, was the first split introduced into the mind after the separation, making the mind a perceiver rather than a creator. Consciousness is correctly identified as the domain of the ego. The ego is a wrong-minded attempt to perceive yourself as you wish to be rather than as you are. So whenever I feel disquiet, that's what's happening. I'm perceiving myself as I wish to be rather than as I am. Yet you can know yourself only as you are, because that is all you can be sure of. Everything else is open to question. The ego is the questioning aspect of the post-separation self, which was made rather than created. It is capable of asking questions, but not of perceiving meaningful answers, because these would involve knowledge and cannot be perceived. The mind is therefore confused, because only one-mindedness can be without confusion. A separated or divided mind must be confused. It is necessarily uncertain about what it is. It has to be in conflict because it is out of accord with itself. This makes its aspects strangers to each other, and this is the essence of the fear-prone condition in which attack is always possible. You have every reason to feel afraid as you perceive yourself. This is why you cannot escape from fear until you realize that you did not and could not create yourself. You cannot escape from fear until you realize that you did not and could not create yourself. There's something I can remember today. At any moment I feel this quiet. You cannot escape from fear until you realize that you did not and could not create yourself. And I do want to escape from fear, so it's important to see this. You can never make your misperceptions true, and your creation is beyond your own error. That is why you must eventually choose to heal the separation. So that's a choice I can make, to heal the separation. Right-mindedness is not to be confused with a knowing mind, because it is applicable only to right perception. You can be right-minded or wrong-minded, and even this is subject to degrees, clearly demonstrating that knowledge is not involved. The term right-mindedness is properly used as the correction for wrong-mindedness, and applies to the state of mind that induces accurate perception. It is miracle-minded because it heals misperception, and this is indeed a miracle in view of how you perceive yourself. Perception always involves some misuse of mind, because it brings the mind into areas of uncertainty. The mind is very active. When it chooses to be separated, it chooses to perceive. Until then, it wills only to know. Afterwards, it can only choose ambiguously, and the only way out of ambiguity is clear perception. That's a reason to ask for perception correction in any moment I feel any tension or stress, because the only way out of ambiguity is clear perception. Clear perception can be given to me as I ask for it, as I make it more important than anything I seem to see or experience today. Just keep asking for clear perception. The mind returns to its proper function only when it wills to know. Instead of judging the things I seem to see and experience here, instead of trying to judge and categorize and reach out for things in the world and value things of the world, if I just will to know, if I want my perception corrected and I just want to know, then there's the return home. This places it in the service of spirit, where perception is changed. The mind chooses to divide itself when it chooses to make its own levels. So there's choice again. The mind chooses to divide itself when it chooses to make its own levels. And all of that is optional. It's a choice. But it could not entirely separate itself from spirit, because it is from spirit that it derives its whole power to make or create. Even in miscreation, the mind is affirming its source, or it would merely cease to be. So all of our illusion is powered by what we are, by love. This is impossible because the mind belongs to spirit, which God created, and which is therefore eternal. So again, even though I made fear, which doesn't exist, the making of the illusion still points back to our source in love, our source in oneness, because that's the power I draw upon to continue to look upon illusions. The ability to perceive made the body possible, because you must perceive something and with something. That is why perception involves an exchange or translation, which knowledge does not need. The interpretive function of perception, a distorted form of creation, so perception has been defined as a distorted form of creation, then permits you to interpret the body as yourself in an attempt to escape from the conflict you have induced. So my identifying as the body is an attempt to escape from the conflict that I have induced. That's why I'm doing it. Spirit, which knows, could not be reconciled with this loss of power because it is incapable of darkness. This makes spirit almost inaccessible to the mind and entirely inaccessible to the body. Thereafter, spirit is perceived as a threat because light abolishes darkness merely by showing you it is not there. Truth will always overcome error in this way. This cannot be an active process of correction because, as I have already emphasized, knowledge does not do anything. It can be perceived as an attacker, but it cannot attack. What you perceive as its attack is your own vague recognition that knowledge can always be remembered, never having been destroyed. God and his creations remain in surety, and therefore know that no miscreation exists. No miscreation exists. That's worth remembering. No miscreation exists. Truth cannot deal with errors that you want. I was a man who remembered spirit and its knowledge. As a man, this I is Jesus, I did not attempt to counteract error with knowledge, but to correct error from the bottom up. I demonstrated both the powerlessness of the body and the power of the mind. By uniting my will with that of my Creator, I naturally remembered spirit and its real purpose. I cannot unite your will with God's for you, but I can erase all misperceptions from your mind if you will bring it under my guidance. So Jesus is here. This is what Jesus can do. Jesus can erase all misperceptions from our minds if we bring it under his guidance. And this won't be Jesus for everybody, but in the form of this course, this is the teacher that's offered. But how about just a presence? There's a presence always with all of us. And what can it do? It can erase all misperceptions from our minds. But the ones we hold on to, we think we can get something from. We think they protect us. We think they give us a safe space between us and those we perceive to be other. And how do we know we're holding on to misperceptions in an attempt to protect our perceived as separate selves, which are not actually real? We feel disquiet, tension, or stress. So when we feel that, we can know, okay, I'm trying to hold on to misperception, but in this very moment, I can ask to have all misperception erased from my mind. And I can do that again and again throughout the day. Okay. Only your misperceptions stand in your way. So when I think something in the world is standing in my way, some condition, something, some seen as separate thing, it is never that. That's the smoke screen. That's the smoke screen. Only misperceptions stand in my way. That's it. And what can I do? I can always go in and ask to have my misperceptions erased. Okay. Without them, your choice is certain. Sane perception induces sane choosing. So in order to choose with sanity, I have to have sane perception first. But all I have to do to get sane perception is to ask for it. So that's my job. Instead of trying to fix problems because I feel disquiet, tension, or stress, I can ask to have my misperception cleared up. Again and again and again, as often as I need to do it. I, again Jesus, cannot choose for you, but I can help you make your own right choice. Many are called, but few are chosen, should be. All are called, but few choose to listen. Therefore, they do not choose right. The chosen ones are merely those who choose right sooner. Right minds can do this now, and they will find rest unto their souls. God knows you only in peace, and this is your reality. So peace is our reality. And whenever we forget today, we can ask for help remembering. We can ask to have our misperceptions erased. Okay, thank you.